Fabulous, right, hello everybody, and welcome to our live demonstration. Now Jenny has shown some clips of the things that we're going to be growing today, but I've also got, basically they were mine and I shared them with Jenny, but these are the real live ones, and I've picked these ones out just to show you how quickly they actually grow. These are pea shoots. You might be familiar with the packet. Cost about £2.50 per packet of them at Marks and Spencer's, but a whole packet of dry pea shoots costs about £2.50, £3, and a whole packet keeps me growing for about 6 months, so it does. And all I need is some compost and something like a grape box, or I think this was a raspberry box or something, I've no idea actually, but I keep everything. And tiny amount of compost goes in, and I'm going to show you how to do this, but I'm just showing you, look how much pea shoot you get in this tiny little space. They're 2 weeks old. We check the label, they're 2 weeks old. These ones are actually 3 weeks old, but if you look closely you can see where I've already cut them. Maybe you can't see it very clearly, but I've already used these, had them with some salad one evening and popped them back in the windowsill, gave them some more water, and that's them growing again. So not only are you getting a fresh crop to pick from, you're getting a repeat crop as well. We'll speak about that a wee bit more in time. So that's my pea shoots, and I have got we call these nifty spring onions. They're a bit like chives. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see that, okay. But same thing. These have been growing. These ones have been growing for 2 weeks. These ones have been growing for 4 weeks. But I've already cut these and used them with chopped up eggs, and I had them with fish one night. And that's them growing again. And they'll probably grow about 3 times before the little bulb is completely exhausted. So let's stop talking about things I've already grown and show you how to grow things from start. So potting tray, but you don't need to have a potting tray, but I believe you can get them in places like B&M's for a couple of pounds. This cost me about £7 or £8, I think, but if you can get your hands on one, it's excellent because it keeps everything contained. When I go out into care homes and settings, I always take a dish basin with me because that's a good container to put compost in that you can work in and around and get up closer to the client to support them. I'm going to stick with my tray here. So I've got my compost. Buy the best quality compost you can. £5 is about a good estimation of a cost for a good bag of compost. Treat yourself to some lollipop sticks, or you can get proper plant labels, a permanent marker pen, your dishes to grow in, and a water bottle or a small watering can. And that's all you need. I've got my hands. Now, I should be suggesting that everybody puts on a pair of gloves, but I'm dreadful for not wearing gloves. So do as I say, not as I do. If you do like just wearing bare hands to work the compost, that's good and well, but make sure you always wash your hands thoroughly afterwards. I've mentioned these dishes, and they're good because they've already got little drainage holes in the bottom of them. But for today, I'm actually just going to be using these small pots here. First thing I'm going to grow or demonstrate is pea shoots. Pea shoots are basically dried peas, and they will grow into miniature pea stalks that we would normally go out and collect the whole peas from. But these are tiny, as you can see, and we just harvest them for their small leaves and their juicy stems. Good thing about these dried peas is they're quite big and easy to handle. So for client groups that have got poor eyesight or poor dexterity, these are relatively comfortable for them to work with. So break the compost up, get rid of any big cloggy bits. If you think about them a bit like children, young children, small babies, you wouldn't put a baby into a cot full of concrete. You give it a nice comfy bed to grow into. We're going to give our baby plants a nice comfy bed to grow into. I've just levelled the compost off to knock out any excess air holes, and I'm not filling the compost right to the very top. I'm leaving a space here. And for my pea shoots, I'm just going to put about 7 in here. So I'm just going to spread them out, okay?
I mean, it's raining.
You learn it. You learn it.
No, no, it's raining. I hope they don't hear me.
I'm just going to pop them down.
It's gardening.
Like so. Take some more compost, cover it over. Again, not having the compost any higher than about ½ centimetre from the top. And the reason for that is when I go to water, I don't want the compost being deluged with water and the compost falling over the side. I want to always leave a water lip area. So I'm just going to quickly do a second one. Break it up. Settle it. Pea shoots in. Good for counting with children. Cover over again. And because this is going onto a windowsill, we need to have something that we can sit the pots that have got the drainage holes onto, that when we water, the water will eke into this tray and it won't come out of this bottom tray and mark the windowsill. I'm going to sit them there like so. Labelling is so important. I've already got my lollipop sticks written with pea shoots on it, today's date. If you're working with a bigger group of people, maybe you want to write their names on them as well. Have a little competition, see who's germinate first of all. And then I'm going to give them a good squish of water. Because they're dry, these pea shoots need a good drink to get them growing. And that's that. They will germinate on a windowsill, depending on the actual temperature of your own room affects this. But mine germinated in my hut windowsill with no heating in 7 days. Indoors, they germinated in about 3 to 4 days. So that's your pea shoot. Okay, next one I'm going to show is our nifty spring onions that I've already shown you. And they're not really spring onions, they're a bit of a cheat calling them that. What we've actually used is onion sets. And these are onion sets that you can buy out the garden centre or online. And at this time of year, they're actually getting reduced. You'll find that some of them are down to half price. Ordinarily, you would plant these outdoors into drills, big long stretches of prepared ground. And this little onion set will grow into that big fat round one that we're used to buying out of the shops. But we're making our own nifty cheap spring onions, because again, this is going on a windowsill and we don't have the space to grow onions on our windowsill. So same thing again, breaking up the compost. I've still got some lumps in here. I'm keen to make sure there's none in there. Fill this up. Now I've been using my hands, as I've said, but depending on your group, you might find that a plastic beaker would be more appropriate. and you can use that to fill the cup, the pot with. But just be aware of your particular client group's needs. If they recognise a beaker or a cup as something only for drinking out of, then you know you can't use that to encourage them. And likewise with a spoon, we can use a spoon to fill the compost into our pot with. But again, that could be confusing for some client groups. So, if you remember the pea shoots I watered once I had put my pea shoots in, but for the spring onions, I'm doing it slightly differently. So I'm going to get another tray. I'm going to sit the pot, drainage holes into here. Second one, I'm going quickly so we can get this all done. But when you're doing this with your clients, I mean, this is an activity that would take possibly a good hour. You're engaging, you're making conversation. The smell that you can't, unfortunately, we don't do smell in Zoom, but the perfume, it's not really a perfume, but the pong, some people might call it a pong, that's coming off the spring onions is really quite intense. I feel like I have to open a window, but it's too windy. I won't bother. So there's lots of conversation that I want to have about the bits and bobs around about me, but I can't because I've got to get on with it. So back to the spring onions here. We have got a side where the shoots come out of and the other side where the roots will come out of. And the side that's got slight hairs on it is the side that the roots are going to come out of. So I have not watered this because I'm getting confused. I'm going round in circles. I started to say about pea shoots, I watered them afterwards. What I'm doing here is the compost is in, but I'm going to water the compost first of all. Give it a good soaking. And then I'm going to take my onion sets. I'll lift this up so you can maybe see a bit closer. And I'm just going to squash them in to the left, peeking out a little bit. I'm going to put 4 in here. 1, 2, very side down, 3, 4. Same again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can maybe see that. So they're just kind of about a third of the onion set is showing. Again, labels, it's maybe quite obvious what these ones are, but get into a habit of labelling is a very good practice to develop. Now, I'm not going to water on top of these onion sets now. The reason being is the onion could perhaps start to rot, and we don't want that. What I'm going to do, once it's sat on its windowsill, I'm going to water from the bottom, and the compost will start to soak the water up, and the roots will grow down the way into the compost and get the water that they need from there. So be aware not to water on top of these onions. Okay, one third thing that I want to show you, and then we can get on to some questions and answers. You'll notice I keep on going back to breaking up this compost because I'm always finding more lumps in it, and it really is important to get all those lumps out. But think about your clients. Some clients that I've worked with actually really enjoy just doing this. Maybe that's why I do it so much. Maybe I get loads of unnamed therapy out of it. So give this a job to somebody to break up all the compost if you wanted. So last one I'm going to do is our leaf salad. And this is one that was sown 2 weeks ago, and you can see how much I've already got. Same one, sown at the same time, but I've already cut this off And this is like growing a second crop for me. You'll find that when you're growing leaf salads indoors, you can get a second harvest out of them quite easily, but you've got to keep on watering them. And then once I get a second cut off of this, it'll be exhausted. So the compost and any wee scraggy bits will just go into the compost heap. So we can get loads of types of leaf salad. You get spicy ones, you get winter ones, you get mild flavoured, you get some with rocket through it. You might not be able to see from here, but there's loads of information on the back, and they quite often tell you if they're suitable for growing on a windowsill throughout the winter time. So far, we've been working with quite big seeds. You can maybe see from here that these are absolute, well, they're not the tiniest of seeds, but they're still really quite small for quite a few people, perhaps, to work with. But there's a way around that. I'm going to get the compost in here. Settle it down. Get my tray. Settle it. I'm giving this compost a good drink beforehand. I'll explain why in a moment. If you've got good eyesight and good dexterity, you can just sprinkle over. Now, if you've got excellent eyesight, you'll be able to see where those seeds are, but my eyesight's pretty rubbish nowadays. So, put my seeds back in there, and I have got an ice cream tub here that has got some, this is just basically builder sand, but you can buy horticultural sand, does the same thing. I'm just going to put some sand in there, and I'm just mixing it round with my seeds. The sand doesn't do anything to the seeds. It doesn't make them germinate any better. It doesn't make your leaf salad grow any more healthier. It just gives me something that I can get a bit more purchase on. So when I'm catching sand and seed, but also you can actually see where you've sown seed, like so. Another thing you can do if you've got people with poor hand-eye coordination, poor eyesight, is get some kitchen roll or tissue paper, dish, a wee bit of water in it, and just dip the kitchen roll in it, in the water that is, then dip it into your sand and seed mix. A finger on top of it will pull out the kitchen roll with a mix of sand and seed on it. And I know I've already sewn in here, but just for demonstration, I'm going to plonk that in there. Second one, dip it out, plonk it in. And I've sown seed. I'm going to cover them over slightly, not very much because the seeds are tiny and we don't want them smothered. That's enough. Labels again, you'll be fed up with me talking about labels. Today's date, leaf salad written on it. And I'm going to give these another little water just to moisten that compost at the top. I've already given them a huge drink of water. If I give them too much water once they've been sown, I can dislodge the seeds and they might all cascade to one side and all the salad will grow at one side and have nothing growing at that side. And there we have it. Our salad leaf has been sown. And that is your demonstration of how to grow some windowsill crops. Within 3 to 4 days, you'll have something germinating, and within 10 days, you'll have something to eat. And remember, if you keep on sowing freshly every 2 weeks, it could be a fortnightly activity, you will have successional growing, which means you're always having a fresh crop coming every couple of weeks. And it is so, so tasty. Enjoy it. Okay, Jenny, I'll hand back over to you, Jane, and we can maybe take some questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joan. Now I think we've got quite a few questions here, so let's hear what we've got.
Okay. Joan, you mentioned cut and come again. Is that actually what that is? Cut and come again? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, you get particular salad packets, leaf salad, that will say on it, cut and come again. Or you can, I wonder if can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. You get, some of the seed packets will actually say cut and come again on them. It's a generic term that people use for a crop that you can cut and it will produce again. Most indoor windowsill leaf salads will cut and come again.
Okay. What is the best way to harvest, cut and come again lettuce? Should I pull out individual big leaves or just cut lots of leaves with scissors?
Cut lots of leaves with scissors.
Okay.
You can go in with your fingers and kind of like pull them out, but what you find is the root system is so delicate that you can actually pull the whole little plant out the compost. So the easiest thing is just to get a pair of kitchen scissors, off with its head, eat it up, and it'll grow again.
Okay. And Rebecca asked what's the best way to harvest, cut and come again lettuce? Oh, sorry, I repeated that one. Does it have to be a hot, sunny windowsill?
Actually, see if it's too hot and if it's too sunny, you actually find that you're spending all day watering the blighters. Because I've got some growing, I'm in a hut out here, so I am, and I've got a fabulous window here that is south facing. I've also got my living room window, which is south facing. But my crop does better in my cooler room than in my living room because I've got a wood burning stove, and I think it actually gets too hot in there to kind of dry. It's like a dry heat, whereas out here in the hut, it's getting that warmth from the sun, the bright light from the big window, and it never gets, well, it's not been freezing yet. Maybe be a different story come January, but at the moment I'm quite happy growing my crops outside in my hut.
Okay. Rebecca asked, how do we harvest the onions?
Same thing again. So it's I should have explained that. That's a really good question. Thank you for prompting me. So you've got your green shoots that are growing up. Cut them off as close to the onion set that it's growing out of, and it will grow again. Those ones there, that's them already grown for 5 centimetres in a matter of days. I can't believe how quickly they've actually grown, but they were indoors in the living room, those ones. You'll get 3 lots of green shoots coming out of that little onion, and then it'll exhaust itself. But don't forget, the little onion that the green shoot was growing out of is fit for purpose. So you can just pull it out the compost, peel the skin off it as you would do a normal big onion, and fling it in your soup or your mince or lasagna, whatever you would normally put an onion in. The reason that we're planting 4 little onions in that small pot, and the reason it puts on so much green growth up the way is because it doesn't have the space for it to grow out the way into a fat onion. So it puts all its energy into putting up green shoots that we get to enjoy as a spring onion.
Okay. How often should you sow leaf salad to get a continuous crop?
That really depends on, everybody will be different depending on how quickly the crop grows in your house. I do it every 2 weeks. I've got something getting sown every fortnight. I've always got a fresh batch coming on because eventually it's exhausted and one gets flung in the compost heap. So you've always got a little continuous cycle.
Okay. Is there enough light to grow in the shorter days in midwinter? Evelyn asked.
Yeah, it always surprises me how I manage to keep it going all year round. It takes longer to germinate. I was saying I'm getting germination about 4 days at the moment from my pea shoots. In the middle of summer, I can even get pea shoots to germinate in about 36 hours. You know, that's how quickly it is in summertime. Coming down to the shortest day, maybe takes about 7 to 10 days to germinate, and they grow much slower. So you're maybe having to successional sow every week at that time of the year. But it's hard to say, but give it a try. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Okay. How do you know when they need watered?
Okay. Good old finger test. Basically, stick your finger in the compost. If it comes out and you've got damp compost stuck to your finger, then it's verging on being too wet. It definitely doesn't need water. If you pull your finger out, you've only got flakes of kind of light brown compost stuck to your finger, then it's quite dry, and I would give it a drink. What you're aiming for is for the bakery people amongst our viewers today. If you've ever made your own crumble topping for rhubarb crumble or apple crumble, that kind of mix of the flour and the sugar and the butter all mixed together is a kind of dampish texture. That's what you want your compost to feel like. That would be perfect.
Perfect. And can you go through sand and kitchen roll sewing method? Oh, somebody wants for you to go through the sand and kitchen roll method again, Joan. Could you maybe just talk through that again? That would be good.
So what I did was I've got a piece of kitchen roll here, and where did I put it? I've just got a little plastic tub here, Philadelphia, not sponsored by Philadelphia, sadly. I've just got a little bit of water in there, and I have got, where did I put it? There we go. This is my dish that's got the sand and the seed already mixed in it.
Joan, can I ask what salad leaves those were, please?
Those ones are Johnson's mixed leaves, gourmet garnish. I have to say they're very nice. But another one that I do recommend is, I like Rocket and things like that. And this one here, it's actually Adobe's own packaged one, and it is salad leaves, speedy mix, and I don't know if you can see that. Basically, it says you can sow all year round on your windowsill. So that's a good one. I would recommend that one. So I need to have my compost in here very quickly. Oops, a bit more than that. So I'm just wetting the kitchen roll, just picking it up, fingers, thumb. I've just caught it, and then I'm just quite literally placing it on top of there. Next one. Top of there. Fine cover. Tap it down just to make sure there's contact. I don't have another label, how naughty. Stick your label in, give it another drink of water. I should have watered it beforehand, sorry. And there you go. Is that all right?
That's it. Yeah, and that's all the questions. Thank you.
Excellent.
That's great. Now, has anyone got any other questions that they'd like to anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask? Now's your chance. Put them up in the chat. Is there anything that's occurred to you over the last few minutes? Anything you want to ask just before we leave the Q&A session?
Rebecca has put in here, so recently our children were investigating real vegetables in the home corner, and we decided to plant some pepper seeds to see what happened, and two have started to grow. Any tips for these, Joan?
Okay, pepper seed, fabulous, that's great, and yep, you will be able to grow peppers from them. You might struggle at this time of year because they really do need some heat, and they need the sunshine for the pepper to actually develop and grow and form fully. So don't don't despair, keep on doing it. You will get germination and it will come to something. It might not be terribly sweet and terribly edible, but that's a good learning curve. But keep doing it, and definitely sow more in the springtime, and you will have lovely peppers next summer.
Okay, lovely. And John Graham's put a couple of things on for us, some hints and tips. He says coffee stirrers make good labels, John.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I live in the middle of nowhere, and I don't have such delights as like a Costa or a Starbucks near me. So I never think about these things. But good idea. Thank you very much. I should ask all my city slicker friends to save them up for me. Thank you.
and he also grew a lychee from fruit from Aldi's as well. And Lucy said, I'm sorry?
Excellent. Great.
And Lucy says, she's sorry if we talked about this in the beginning and missed it. Do we have any tips on getting funding or distribution to people in your community to run this type of project?
Oh, wow, maybe that's something we can pick up as a trellis kind of research question.
Okay.
Maybe I can direct them to the trellis website for that one.
Right. And sounds like the children have a great experience with Rebecca. What is their predictions for the peppers? Well, Joan, I think you've already answered that one for us, so thank you. But Rebecca has replied back, well, we have 2 little baby peppers, so we'll see what happens with them. So we'll wait and see what happens. And so that's it for the chat.
If you don't have access to a heated greenhouse, give them to somebody that's got a lovely heated conservatory, so they're getting as much sunlight and warmth. And do keep us up to date with how they come to fruition.
Sue has asked, is there a list of recommended windowsill plants, Joan?
Right, quite a few herbs will grow. Your basil, parsley, coriander will germinate and grow indoors on a windowsill. Things like radish. She's got a packet of radish here. I've just been sowing some radish myself for indoors. They germinate really quickly during the summertime, so I'm doing a bit of a trial actually. I love radish leaves to eat, so I do, and I love radish, but I refuse to pay for what the shops want for them because I'm the only person that eats radish in my house, so I'm going to grow my own radish for the winter time. So radish will grow as well.
Cool.
What else? Your least pea shoots, onions. Sorry, Jenny.
I was going to say, can you bring in your rosemary and thyme and put them on the windowsill?
Of course, yes, yeah, absolutely. And for anybody that's maybe wanting to have a bit of a gardening activity indoors, but they know that they need to speed up the interest level for their client group, buy yourself, go into Tesco's or Sainsbury's or wherever they have their 5 o'clock at night time when they discount their food. Go to the vegetable aisle and you quite often get things like the pots of basil and parsley and coriander reduced to like 15 pence or something like that. And really all that's wrong with these plants is they're needing out that plastic cellophane glove thing that they're in and a drink of water. Bring them home and get the kids or your client group to tear them apart and pot each little individual teared apart piece into an individual pot, give it a good drink of water, cut it back a bit, and it will surprise you how quickly that will grow and come away again. So it's a nice way to have an activity to do, but have something to show at the end of it as well.
Okay, just a general question here, on my screen keeps jumping. Our Zoom courses, somebody has asked if they are open to just workers or anyone in the field.
I've just posted an answer to that one.
Lovely.
Yeah, they are technically open to the public, but we'd prefer if care and education professionals were to benefit from them, because they can actually spread the word and use the information to benefit their groups. So actually, I don't know that I want to throw it open to the world. We're getting lots and lots of interest in this, and it's fantastic. But we'd like to actually the people who are in hard to reach groups actually benefit from this the most. So that's
Okay.
our kind of philosophy on that one.
And somebody has come back with an answer about the funding, and it says a project is running with, I'm running my project with funding from Age Scotland, if that's of interest to anyone as well. And that's the chat. That's it.
That's great. Terrific. Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that's terrific. I think we can show our appreciation to Joan there. If you could give her a bit of a clap on your reactions, that would be excellent. Just thank you very much. Thank you very much, Joan. That's brilliant.